Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that brings you the highs and the lows from around world football. See what I did with my hands there? Chris Hamill is in the hot seat. Hamster, who are our first winners?
You say hot seat, it is freezing up here in the attic on a Monday morning, but alas, we have to move on. And at Case Hearts on my Twitter feed thinks that Chelsea deserve to be our first winners after defeating Leicester 2-1 at the King Power Stadium, taking them to third in the table as their early season recovery continues after that opening day loss to Burnley. Now, Leicester, despite faring well against Arsenal, Manchester United and Chelsea, very tough opening start to the season for them.
Tough.
They've actually lost 12 of their last 14 games against Chelsea in all competitions, so the writing was on the wall for Craig Shakespeare's men, and Chelsea duly dominated with 60% of possession. They had 16 shots to Leicester's 8 with 6 on target compared to Leicester's 2. They also completed nearly double the amount of dribbles, but we don't need that information. Thanks, Zacco, behind the screen. He scripted this part. Morata scored yet again with that magical forehead.
Unreal.
Only Belotti, with 10, has scored more headed league goals in Europe's top 5 leagues since August 2016. Morata only one behind him with 9.
Wow.
And all 3 of Morata's goals, Joseph, and assists in the Premier League have come from his head. That magical bounce.
Yeah.
Talking of magical bounces, Ginger, take over.
Yeah, why not? I was actually really impressed with Chelsea's midfield on the day. And N'Golo Kante, of course, returning to his former club and getting the winning goal, as it turned out on the day. But he put in a classic Kante performance as well, 100% of his tackles, and actually created 3 chances. One thing about N'Golo Kante, he's a really, really underrated passer, and it showed in this game. Tiémoué Bakayoko as well had a really, really good game. 5 completed dribbles, 5 tackles, 100% aerial duels. He's creating a really nice little partnership with his fellow Frenchman, Kante. Leicester's goal though, Jamie Vardy. Now, Vardy is the king of winning penalties. He always gets there first and then gets that little trip, throws himself to the floor, doesn't he? He's actually won more penalties than any other Premier League player since the start of the 2014 season. That's 11, which is a huge number. Leicester, like you said, lost 3 of their opening 4, but they have played Manchester United. They have played Chelsea. They've played Arsenal, so probably the hardest start of any Premier League team. But they now play Huddersfield next, so it gets even harder. But for Chelsea, they're off to Qarabag midweek in the Champions League. So if they win that, I think people will have already forgotten about the Burnley result, and Chelsea are back to being Premier League title contenders.
First loser comes from Gortham Varner on Twitter, and he thinks Renato Sanchez and Swansea deserve to be in there. What happened on the Portuguese's debut? Because it was ugly, wasn't it?
It was. Obviously, Swansea falling 1-0 to Newcastle at the Liberty Stadium. A really, really bad result because they are fellow relegation candidates, one would suggest. Now they are on just 4 points from their opening 4 games. And Gautham did mention, didn't he, Renato Sanchez, who I think he had a bad debut. Didn't have his best day, but looked so unfit. I mean, Renato Sanchez, there was a stat floating around on Twitter that he gave possession away 14 times in the first 29 minutes. Honestly, he kept on riding players on the pitch and then just a simple pass, giving it away. On my paper here, I've got he was dispossessed when he was dribbling 6 times as well. He completed no tackles. He only completed 72% of just 48 passes as well, starting on the right-hand side of a midfield diamond. So a terrible start for the young Portuguese, but was Clement right to start him? It felt like he should have been coming on for the last 30 minutes. He looked so unfit, nowhere near enough game time for Bayern Munich in pre-season. They also shifted to this diamond just to accommodate him. Leroy Fer was playing at the tip of it, and he looked bang average up there. I think in the second half, they tried to move it around. Renato went to the tip, and he didn't quite work there either. Last week, they played a 3-5-2. And it just all felt a little bit messy for Paul Clement's men.
I mean, he's only played this season in the DFB Pokal against absolute minnows. So I think to throw him in straight away was highly unfair, and the gamble did not pay off. His confidence was already low before he came as a result of not playing last season. And now Clement's thrown him in at the deep end, and as I say, backfired.
I think he is going to improve, so let's not jump on the bandwagon
he's 3
too
weeks
early.
behind everyone else.
You're saying if you're Paul Clement, he's got to come off the bench here. There's no way that you can shift your team around entirely for a man who's played that little minutes and is going to have that little impact because of his fitness levels. By about 55 minutes, the lad could barely sprint up and down the pitch as a box-to-box midfielder. He was walking. The likes of Jesus Gamez, the Newcastle left-back, was just running off him in that first half.
After about 20 minutes, he was picking up from right-back.
Yeah.
This doesn't bode well. It suggests that he was on his knees.
Shattered, but nevertheless, a great day for the Magpies.
Yes, mate, on balance, I think the Magpies probably deserve this result, out-shooting the home side 16-10, also doubling their efforts on target with 8 to a paltry 4 as well. Now, Swansea have had the fewest shots this season and faced the most. That, my friend, is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So they need to improve in all areas at the moment.
Shitfest.
No wonder Paul Clement was keen to rush the young man in. But Lucas Fabianski, one man who did save a bit of face on the night, was the Polish goalkeeper. That save from Joselu's header in the first half was absolutely ridiculous. What a cat. Was it better than David De Gea's against Stoke?
No,
For me, yes, it was.
David
Let us know your opinion in the comments below. Joe's doesn't matter. He actually made 7 saves on the night, more than double that of Rob Elliott. So the scoreline could have been a lot more hairy if you're a Swansea fan. Now, Newcastle captain and man of the match Jamal Lascelles ended up getting the winner with his 3rd Premier League goal, all headers. Little nugget there for you. After making 10 clearances and blocking a certain goal from Tammy Abraham on the night. So a gutsy performance from him. But my question to you, Joseph, should his supplier, not in that way, Matt Ritchie, have been on the pitch? Because he put the corner in for the header, and he went all Hong Kong Phooey on Alfie Mawson, didn't he?
Absolutely not, if you're judging by Sadio Mane's sending off. He even basically admitted it, didn't he, in a post-match interview. He was lucky to stay on the pitch. But what about you guys at home? Did you think Matt Ritchie should have been sent off in the Swansea-Newcastle game? Vote in the poll up there right now. Our next winner is Manchester City, of course, hammering Liverpool 5-0 at the Etihad. And on paper, this was an absolute demolition. But let's all be honest.
Mauling.
It came down to one big red card decision. Sadio Mane, of course, being sent off for reckless play in effectively the exact same tackle that Matt Ritchie got booked for, although there was connection with Ederson's face, which has left him battered and bruised, went off on a stretcher.
Connection is generous.
Yeah.
And Ederson's not a small boy, is it?
I mean, it was horrendous. On initial viewing, I tweeted saying this was never a red card and that John Moss had ruined the game. It was a red card. I was 100%. Incorrect on Twitter. This was horrendous. After watching the slow-mo replays, there was only one decision John Moss could
I'm pretty sure when we were going hammer and tong on WhatsApp about this, you'd seen the slow-mo replays and were still convinced it wasn't a red, because you like to adopt that old school mentality.
I've had time to collect my thoughts,
nothing wrong with it.
This was a red card. But let's take nothing away from City, because they ruthlessly put Liverpool to the sword when they did go down to 10 men. It's Klopp's heaviest ever defeat as a Liverpool manager. In fact, it's his joint heaviest defeat in history of management. I think he lost 6-1 when he was at Borussia Dortmund all the way back in the day. But Man City were brilliant on the day, weren't they, Hamster?
I actually think prior to this as well, Pep Guardiola had lost more games to Jurgen Klopp than any other manager. And Pep was gunning for it from the off. He went with a 3-5-2, started Aguero and Jesus up front, and they caused Liverpool's very suspect defence all sorts of problems, didn't they? What is Klavan doing starting? Estonia's greatest ever export, doing me over on fantasy football. I've got Dejan Lovren in my side. What are you doing to me, Jurgen? I might lose to Adam Templeman this week. Absolutely shocking. But yes, get this, Joe. When Aguero and Jesus start together, they bang. They've started together 6 times. Aguero 5 goals, Jesus 5 goals, and they've each got 5 assists during that time.
It's just a joke.
So an absolute myth that they can't play together. And long may it continue, because it was extremely exciting to watch. Now, Sergio Aguero also loves playing the Merseysiders, doesn't he? He scored 6 goals in all competitions against Liverpool, just at home.
Banger. Mind you, what a player.
Well, one of the Premier League's top goal scorers ever, isn't he? And Kevin De Bruyne was also an absolute joke on the night. 2 assists and man of the match.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Now, since his Manchester City Football Club debut, he has more Premier League assists than any other player with 29. The closest who comes to him is Mesut Ozil on 27.
He was so good in that game.
Is he the best midfielder in the Premier League?
Yes.
What do you think, though? Let us know in the comments. Next up in our losers section are Southampton, and it's not so holy for the Saints as Alex Daniel, a man, has confined them to our losers bin. Why is that?
Yes, because the Hornets stung the Saints in this one. 2-0 at St Mary's Stadium. Southampton have started the season so badly. They just keep firing duds. I mean, their attack has now completely fallen apart. Nobody can score a goal up there. Gabbiadini could not hit a barn door. They failed to score in 4 out of the 5 matches at the start of this season. And in fact, at the back end of last season, they failed to score in 6 of the last 8. So up front, they're an absolute shambles. In fact, they were outshot on the day by Watford at home, 12-8, and they managed just 1 shot on target. That came in the 80th minute. There was a chance from the fans as well asking for Pellegrino's head. We're just 4 games in and the board have already scheduled a meeting for Wednesday. Of course, the lack of goals are what got Claude Puel the sack at the back end of last season. He was picking up results, but his team weren't playing attractive enough football and weren't scoring the goals. So Pellegrino needs to be careful. It also makes the sale of Jay Rodriguez even more puzzling. Back to fitness, a lack of strikers in that Southampton team. Shane Long not doing it, Gabbiadini not doing it, Charlie Austin not doing it. Jay Rodriguez sold for £12 million to West Brom and has started the season very well. I just don't know where the goals come from, but Watford, they have started the season in scintillating form, Hamilton.
Yes, they are riding high under new manager Marco Silva and are now up to 4th in the Premier League. I really do think they could be the surprise package of this season. Now they've got a more solid base. They've got some right naughty little up front, haven't they? And Troy Deeney and Gray, he can cause anyone a bit of trouble on the day. Let's see how it goes from here on in. But yes, 3 consecutive clean sheets for the first time in 12 months for Watford. And Marco Silva, more importantly, is improving their form away from home. Now, this is a manager who is known to get the best out of his players when they're performing at home in front of their own fans. In fact, he went on a 41-game unbeaten streak that ended in May 2017. And that included half a season with Hull. I think he still won 6 or 7 games at home with him. Pretty impressive. Watford have now won their last 3 away matches in all competitions. But they do need to find a consistent goal scorer, don't they?
Yes, they do.
A couple of seasons ago when they had Troy Deeney and Igalo that really pushed them up the Premier League, didn't they? I think they got 15 or 16 goals each. They need someone to replicate that form. They have Gray, Deeney, Okaka and Richarlison. So a lot of very useful players who can adapt to a lot of different situations up front. You know, a Karkov physical beast. Richarlison looks to have very good technique, gets a lot of good shots off in the box. And Gray can work the channels. Deeney, as we know, absolute monster. Well. Bully of a target man. So they can't really keep relying on 30-yard strikes from fullbacks like Janmaat, who won in this game. And they've actually scored 7 goals this season and have had 6 different goal scorers. Which harks back to what I was just saying. But where will Watford finish in the league? Let us know, guys. You guessed it.
Our final winner, Tottenham Hotspur, and that one comes from Jacob THFC on Twitter.
Yep, no bonus points for guessing who he supports, and he's put Tottenham in our winners, and rightly so, because they battered Everton 3-0, and it could have been a lot more. And the game also saw Harry Kane reach his 100th Spurs goal. Now, Everton are winless in their last 10 games against Spurs. So yet again, the writing was on the wall for the second time this episode. In their last 10, they've lost 5 and drew 5. Since their last win, which was a 2-1 victory in December 2012.
5 years.
That's an awful record. Good maths from you. But yeah, Tottenham just edged the match stat-wise, despite the convincing scoreline. Both had 50% possession, similar sort of pass success rate, but Spurs edged the shots 15-12, with 6 coming on target to Everton's 1. That's the really telling statistic, isn't it? Everton just unable to create good chances in good positions and test Hugo Lloris on the day. Harry Kane, though, dominant up front. Back to his, what do they call him? Hurricane.
Hurricane form.
Back to his, windy best with 2 goals from 4 shots, and he also completed 2 dribbles on the night. So very useful game from the forward.
Yeah, he was not in the best form coming into this game. He'd ended a run of 25 shots without scoring in the Premier League. That's his 2nd longest run in the competition's history. It took him 169 games to get to his 100th Tottenham goal. Impressive. It actually took Thierry Henry 181 to get to 100, just to put a little bit of context around that. So incredibly impressive stuff from Harry Kane. But as good as Tottenham were, Everton were a disgrace in this game. Absolutely appalling. The back three were a shambles. Michael Keane and Ashley Williams' connection at centre-half, you could have fit a lorry through it. There was so much room for Harry Kane in this game, it was a joke. The midfield three of Davy Klaassen, Idrissa Gueye and Morgan Schneiderlin, nowhere to be seen. Davy Klaassen was absolutely appalling. There was no wonder that when he was on the ball, his own fans were booing him towards the end of the game. They were so bad.
Just what a new signing needs, to pick himself
No
up.
movement at all up front from Sandro. It was an absolutely shambolic performance from Everton, bearing in mind they spent nearly £200 million in the summer with no cohesion whatsoever.
It's almost like they spent £100 million on one position.
Yeah, I know. Christian Eriksen was brilliant because he had 20 yards of room whenever he picked up the ball. Idrissa Gueye and Morgan Schneiderlin could not get near him all day. He's actually the joint highest scoring Dane in Premier League history now, level with Lord Bentner. And a quick honourable mention as well to Davinson Sanchez, fitted into the middle of Tottenham's back three with Vertonghen on one side, Alderweireld on the other, and looks really comfortable. Looks like he's going to be a really good asset in that 3-4-2-1. A great day for Tottenham Hotspur, but Everton, Jesus Christ, they're awful.
Our last loser, Frank de Boer's Crystal Palace, yet again. Ugly scenes for the Dutchmen as they lost 1-0 away to fellow strugglers, Burnley. I say strugglers, beat Chelsea, beat Palace, doing all right.
I actually felt a little bit sorry for De Boer in this game. I mean,
big time.
Palace were clearly the better team on the day, but for a Lee Chung-yong shocker, they probably would have got something out of the game. Of course, he let his team down and let Chris Wood in for the opening goal, who you're going to talk about a little bit later within the first 3 minutes. But Crystal Palace are now the first top division side in 93 years to lose their first 4 games of the season without scoring a goal.
Nada.
Having said that, the team that sits in 19th position, that is of course Palace, I actually thought they were much better than Burnley on the day. They outshot them ridiculously, 23 shots to Burnley's 5. They had like 65% possession in this game. They had some fantastic chances. Christian Benteke header in the first half. Scott Dan had 2 cleared off the line, and then in the 90th minute, the Scott Dan header. Open goal, 3 yards out. How on earth he's missed it, I have absolutely no clue. The pressure though on De Boer is now absolutely immense. The remaining fixtures don't favour him either. I will be very surprised if he's a Palace manager come sort of November time. I feel a little bit sorry for him though, because he's trying to change his team. He doesn't have the players to do it. They didn't spend a massive amount of money. Sakho's still not back fit yet. There's plenty of time, but he won't get it. As for Burnley and Chris Wood, another good game.
Well, yeah. And Tarkowski in particular. I thought he was blocking everything.
Face on the line.
Absolute mammoth in his own 18-yard box, although his distribution was pretty poor. If he can amend that, then it will be a very decent acquisition. I believe they got him from Brentford a couple of years ago.
They did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I dug that out, the old Swede. But yes, Chris Wood is the second player now, stat of the day, from Oceania to score in their first Premier League start. Who was the only other Joe?
Name him in the comments, don't tell him.
You'll never get it.
Find it.
You'll never get it. Ex-Blackburn player. And it was in August 2003 against Wolves, so there's a little clue for you. But yes, Wood's goal came 169 seconds into the game. Shocking. Burnley's fastest goal since November 2016, which was also against Palace. Another riveting stat.
Great stat.
But yeah, prior to this game, I think Wood had only ever played 35 minutes of Premier League football. He was useful for Leicester in the Championship, but as soon as he came up, he looked completely like a fish out of water. Yeah. And I think a season at Leeds, where he's quite prolific, wasn't I? I say quite prolific. I think he was one of the top goal scorers in the Championship.
Very prolific.
I think he got near enough 30 goals. It's obviously done him some good because he looked a hell of a lot sharper, and he actually took his finish very well.
Brilliantly.
Not sure what the Palace keeper's doing.
No, I know.
Who is he? The kid from Wales.
Yeah,
he's got it with his head.
Yeah, he's out of the box, isn't he?
Outside of the box. Like a fish being thrown into a seal's mouth. But yeah, apart from that, the Clarets actually end the weekend in the top 8 for the first time since April 1975. And I don't know how that's happened.
42 years. 42 years.
I thought they were horrible, and if they keep playing this brand of football, they're one of the most predictable teams in the Premier League.
Yes.
And very fortuitous at the moment. If they keep playing this brand of football, they'll be down in 2 or 3 years. They had absolutely no plan B. I think Palace had 22 shots on the night to 23 to Burnley's 5, and I think they only had 1 on target. Have you already mentioned that?
4-4-2.
Absolutely.
That's what we're playing.
Woeful. However, a big blow for them was he did lose England international Tom Heaton, who came off with a dislocated shoulder.
Surgery.
So he'll be out for some time. But the young man who came in, Pope,
Actually,
made a
looked
couple
alright.
of very good saves. But yeah, Palace's next game at Selhurst Park is against Southampton before the international break. And after that, absolutely disgusting scenes. I think they have United, City and Chelsea as part of their next 5. They also have Huddersfield, so 2 must-win games in the upcoming weeks for De Boer's men, or he is gone, rightly or wrongly. Zach just dropped some chewing gum out of his mouth. Disgusting. Moving on.
So that's all the time we've got on winners and losers. Hamster, what teams feature on Euro Roundup?
Oh, mate, across Europe was an absolute scorcher this week. We've got Real Madrid drawing yet again. We've got Barcelona smashing it in the Catalan derby. And who else have we got?
Bayern Munich getting pumped by Hoffenheim.
See you there.
What? Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.